Good afternoon, everyone. Tidal Stream is an independent UK company in which the German marine engineering company of Shuttle has a 40% stake. And this picture here is the Black Rock, which is an iconic feature of the landscape in the Bay of Fundy and the Minas Passage, which is where Shuttle and ourselves have obtained a berth and signed a contract to build a machine, a demonstrator to test in this site. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment, but before I do, I just wanted to have a sideways look at offshore wind. Wind energy is where I came from as an engineer. Currently, offshore wind is featuring machines of between 3 and 6 megawatts, although prototypes at up to 8 megawatts and 164 meters diameter have been prototyped, for instance, by Vestas, as you can see here. These machines are absolutely huge. Each blade is as long as the wing span of a 747. And it's interesting to look at how well these devices are doing against some measure like nacelle rotor mass. So what I've done here is just to plot up the left-hand scale rotor nacelle mass in tons, and down at the bottom megawatts installed. And although there is a small increase in weight per megawatt as the turbines get bigger, the offshore wind community has done pretty well in keeping that value down to something like 50, 60 tons per megawatt. And that's a measure of how obviously weight is a measure of how cost effective that approach is. When we look at what's been done with the single turbine units in Tidal, you can see, is there a pointer on here? Nope. Pointer. Anyway, you can see on the left-hand graph that the 1 megawatt single turbines are coming in with weights of between 130 and 230 tons, i.e. tons per megawatt. And that's a long way from where they need to be cost effective with offshore wind. There is, however, another approach in which you take a large number of much smaller turbines and put them onto a platform. So in this picture here, those turbines reach between 3 and 5 meters in diameter, and as the turbine gets very much smaller, then the cost goes down substantially. And you can see from the two red dots, the lower red dot is the weight per ton of those turbines, which is only about 15 tons per megawatt, and the weight of the whole device, including the structure, which is about 70 or 80, about 80 tons per megawatt. So you can see that this approach really does offer the potential for cost reduction. It's also scalable, and our ultimate goal is to have devices like at the right with up to 10 megawatts of capacity for sites like the Pentland Firth, and to maintain the kind of mass per megawatt that offshore wind is achieving. So why is the platform approach so attractive? Firstly, you get large capacity. It costs a lot of money to put a peg into the seabed, and having done it, you might as well hang as much from that as you possibly can. So our goal is of machines that have capacities of up to 10 megawatts. You can also, with this approach, cover the full depth of the flow stream in up to, say, 80, 90, 100 meters water depth. This is actually an impression of the Pentland Firth, a site such as Brims. We can raise the arm and have float-out installation, as shown on the left there, so that all the turbines are on top, accessible. You float it out, drop the arm, attach it, and then you ballast the structure into its operating position. You get safe onboard access for maintenance repair, both in the operating position to the electrical rooms that are at the top, or to the turbines by bringing the device to the surface. Transition is by simple water ballast. Couldn't be much simpler than that. And finally, these are self-aligning systems. They don't need a yaw drive. And sad news for Graham, but all the turbines run upstream of the rotors, so we won't be needing to study how they are affected downstream. This is the machine we propose to build at Force. It has a lot of 36 small shuttle turbines. Each of those turbines has a capacity of about 70 kilowatts, and the total gives a rated power of 2.5 megawatts, which will be the largest single tidal system yet built. The structures are 30-meter long catamaran hulls, and we expect at Force flows of up to 8 meters a second. There's a considerable water depth range of about 14 meters, and that means we have to be able to adjust the angle of the buoyant spar buoys with the tether arms in order to accommodate that. And the weight of the whole structure, including the base, is about 200 tons. The shuttle STG turbine is an interesting beast. It's a free-flow turbine of between 3 and 5 meters diameter. With that rated power, you can see the blades are flexible as they pitch back in the flow, so they change their pitch in order to relieve the loads. And the benefits of this, that it's very simple and lightweight, less than a ton per turbine, so you can remove it with a car hoist practically. It can be produced in quantity, making it very cheap. If you have a single failure, it's not the end of the world. You can wait until you've got enough failures affecting your power generation. You can then go and change out a number of turbines in one go. And finally, it can be put on various different support structures. But of course, for Fundy, it's going to go on the tidal stream structure. It's been tested in, for instance, at the front of this tug in Rotterdam Harbour at up to 8 meters a second, and it's been sold commercially. At Force in the Bay of Fundy, we have set up BlackRock Tidal Power as a subsidiary company, and we will be working with all these partners in order to achieve our demonstrator goal. The development will be in 3 stages. First of all, this is the existing, where there's a 16 megawatt cable. First of all, we'll put in the platform with the inner box of turbines complete, giving about just over a megawatt. In the second stage, we add the rest of the turbines. This is so we get some operating experience before we commit to the full McCoy. And in the third stage, we have the permit and the power contract to build the second machine, giving us a tide farm of 5 megawatts. The ultimate goal for Triton is back in the UK. We went to Canada for various reasons that have been discussed, like the difficulties of leasing, permitting, and grid supply. So Canada will serve for our demonstration base, but ultimately we want to come back and be in the Pentland Firth. And so the ultimate goal is for these 10 megawatt machines, a number of turbines, possibly 6 third-party turbines of 1.7 megawatts each, possibly more turbines. Brims is a 200 megawatt site that we can cover with 10 such systems, and we can put 10 cables to shore, which is acceptable to SSE and means they would not have to have an offshore subsea hub or platform combining the flows from several single turbines. We get safe onboard access for maintenance repair, either in the operating position in the right or when the system is ballasted into its floating position on the left. In 2012, Black & Veatch completed a study that confirmed that this approach can halve the cost of energy relative to single seabed-mounted turbines. And it was interesting to note from this morning's sessions that a more or less halving of the cost of energy is what's actually been looked for to say that this industry has a good future. We've also nearing the end of a TSB project in which we've been looking in practice at the issue of how we connect that the bearing unit at the end of the arm on tow-out with a seabed unit that is that sort of black blob in the lower half of the picture. And we've just finished a series of tests in the Foul Estuary at 10th scale, actually demonstrating how we would make that connection. Thank you. I don't think I've even had a warning.